Our topic today is mental development. We're going to look at the steps of the Noble Eightfold Path that fall into the term known as wisdom. We have spoken about how the steps of the path are interrelated in this context. It is particularly interesting to understand the position of mental development because standing as it is between good conduct and wisdom is relevant, and it's important to both of these concepts. Now, you may ask why this is the case. In fact, sometimes people have said to me regarding the need for meditation, if one simply follows the moral precepts, is that not sufficient to lead a wise life? Well, I think there are several answers to the question. First of all, in Buddhism, there is not only one goal. Besides the goals of happiness and good fortune, there's also the goal of freedom. If one wants to attain the goal of freedom, the only way that can be achieved is through wisdom. And in order to achieve wisdom, one has to develop the mind. There are many practices to develop the mind, including meditation, pre-science, and contemplation. Even for the practice of good conduct, for the gaining of clarity, mental development is necessary. Why? Because it is relatively easy to follow the rules of good conduct when things are going well. If we have a good job, if we live in a stable society, if we earn sufficiently to support ourselves and our families, it is relatively easy to observe the precepts. But when we find ourselves in circumstances of stress, of instability, we find ourselves in a situation where carelessness prevails. This is the point at which the observance of good conduct comes under attack. In this kind of circumstance, the only thing that can safeguard our practice of good conduct is to strengthen the mind. Development on one hand serves as a safeguard of our practice, and on the other hand, it serves to prepare the mind to see things as they really are and prepare the mind to obtain wisdom, which will open the door to freedom and to enlightenment. Mental development, therefore, has an extremely important role in the practice of the Noble Eightfold Path. The emphasis on mental development is not surprising if we remember the importance of the role of the mind in experiencing our reality. The mind is the most important thing in regarding the steps of the Noble Eightfold Path. This was a very significant and true finding from the Buddha. And we find this clearly in the Buddha's own words. The Buddha has said the mind is the source of all mental states, that all mental states are fashioned by the mind. It is also said that the mind is one of the prevailing qualities of being human, but the mind also is in a constantly changing nature and changes our own experience and perceptions of these experiences. It was once said that if we had to cover the whole surface of the earth in order to protect our feet from being cut by sticks and stones, this would be a very difficult undertaking. But by covering only the surface of our feet with leather, it is the whole surface of the earth were covered with leather. In the same way, if we had to purify the whole universe of greed, anger, and delusion, it would be a very difficult task. But simply by purifying our own mind of greed, anger, and delusion, it's as if the whole universe were purified. That is why in Buddhism we focus upon the mind as the key to achieving a change in the way we experience life, in the way we relate to other people. The importance of the mind has recently been recognized by scientists, psychologists, and doctors. Some of you may be aware of some of the techniques that are being used by medical practitioners. A number of doctors have successfully employed techniques very similar to the techniques of meditation in order to help patients overcome chronic diseases and disorders. This is now recognized fact within the medical profession that the mind has great power. We can all understand the influence the mind has on our attitude by looking at our own experience. We know how we occasionally feel happy and have a positive attitude toward our activities, and when this happens, we are very efficient. We respond and we are able to carry out the activities in the best possible way. On other occasions, when our mind is disturbed and or depressed, we find that we cannot even discharge simple tasks efficiently. In this way, we can see how important the mind is in all spheres of our activity. There are 3 steps of the Noble Eightfold Path that are included in this mental development, and they are right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Together, these 3 steps encourage and enable one to be self-reliant, attentive, and calm. First of all, in its most general sense, right effort means cultivating a positive attitude towards our undertakings. We can call right effort enthusiasm as well. It means undertaking our task with energy, with a will to carry them through. It is said in one text that we want to embark upon our task in the same way as an elephant enters a cool lake during the heat of the midday sun. With this kind of effort, we can then be successful in whatever we plan to do, whether in our career, in our studies, or in our practice of the Dharma. In this sense, effort is also related to confidence. It is a practical application of confidence. And if we fail to put effort into whatever we do, we cannot hope to succeed. Our efforts must be controlled. They must be balanced. And here we can recall the basic metaphor regarding the middle way. Do not tune your strings too tightly or too loosely. The overly tight string and the overly loose strings make no music. So effort should never become too tense, too extreme. And similarly, it should not become too slack, should not be abandoned. This is what we mean by right effort, a controlled, sustained, enthusiastic, cheerful determination. Right effort is defined as fourfold. It is the effort to prevent unwholesome thoughts from arising. It is the effort to have and control those thoughts. It is to cultivate wholesome thoughts. It is the effort to maintain wholesome thoughts. The last is particularly important because it is often the case that when we have succeeded in cultivating wholesome attitudes, all too often these are short-lived. Between them, these 4 aspects of right effort focus the energy of right effort upon our mental states in such a way as to reduce and eventually eliminate the number of unwholesome mental states that we entertain in our mind, and to increase and firmly establish wholesome thoughts as a natural, integral part of our mental states. The second step of the Noble Eightfold Path that is included in the group of mental development is right mindfulness. Right mindfulness is essential even in our daily life. This Buddhist teaching, in fact, I would venture to say, is the best of all Buddhist teachings and can be explained and can be exemplified with situations that belong to everyday life, that are familiar to all of us. In fact, if you look at the Buddha's own teachings, you will find that he always used examples that were familiar to his audience when teaching the Dharma. So here too, in regard to mindfulness, we may do well to look at the importance of mindfulness in our ordinary, mundane, daily activities. Mindfulness is awareness or attention, avoiding a distraction and a clouded state of mind. There would be many fewer accidents if everyone were mindful. So whether one is driving a car or crossing a busy street or doing accounts, whatever one is doing, that task would be more effectively carried out if one is attentive and mindful. It will increase one's efficiency, productivity, and similarly, it will reduce the number of accidents that occur due to inattention and due to failure to be aware. Specifically, in regard to the practice of the Dharma, mindfulness acts as a rein upon our minds. In this sense, if we consider how our mind normally behaves, we can see a need for a rein or a control upon our mind. A storm causes many things for us to fear at times, and I am sure that most of our minds immediately focused upon a storm we have endured. Similarly, at almost every moment of our life, our minds are running after objects of the senses. The mind is never concentrated or still. The objects of the senses may be sounds, memories, or sights. As you drive down the streets, your eyes may be caught by an attractive advertisement. Your mind will be attracted to that advertisement. When you smell someone's perfume, your mind will become entangled with that object. All of these are causes of distraction, so in order to minimize this distraction, we need a kind of guard which can protect the mind from becoming entangled with objects of the senses, from becoming entangled in thoughts that do little to serve us and much to distract us. This guard is mindfulness. The Buddha once told a story about two acrobats, master and apprentice. On one occasion, the master said to the apprentice, "You protect me and I will protect you. In this way, we will perform our tricks and come down safely." But the apprentice said, "No, master, that will not do. I will protect myself and you will protect yourself. In the same way, we have to guard our own minds." Some people may say this is rather selfish. What about teamwork, Jim? A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. A team is only as efficient as its members. A team of distracted people who are incapable of discharging their own responsibilities will be an inefficient team. Similarly, in order that we can play an effective role in relation to our fellow beings, we must first guard our mind. Suppose you have a fine car. You will be careful to park the car in such a place so that it will not be hit by another motorist. Even at work or at home, you will occasionally look out the window to make sure the car is all right. You will be sure to take it to the mechanic regularly. You will be sure to wash it regularly. And in the same way, all of us possess one thing which is far more valuable than any other possession. And that one thing is our mind. Recognizing the value of our mind, we need to understand it. This is being mindful. This is an aspect of mental development which we can practice at any time, in any place. So right effort and right mindfulness can be practiced without any fear of adverse consequences. It simply entails being aware and attentive, watching your mind, seeing where it's going, seeing what it's doing. Just as when I'm talking to you right now, with one corner of my mind, I can watch my mind, keep an eye on my mind. What am I thinking of? Is my mind on what I'm saying to you right now? Or am I thinking about what happened this morning, or last week, or what I will be doing tomorrow? I once heard a teacher saying that if you are making a cup of tea, Buddhism means making a cup of tea well, focusing, concentrating the mind on what one is doing. This is true no matter what, including cleaning the house, going to school, or cooking. No matter what one is doing, one can practice mindfulness. The practice of watching the mind, of keeping an eye on the mind, is just that. Let us go on to consider the third step, and that is concentration, or as it is sometimes called, meditation, or tranquility. Meditation can be traced all the way back to the Indus Valley civilizations. Concentration is the practice of focusing the mind single-pointedly on a single object. The object may be physical or mental. When total single-pointedness of the mind upon a single object is achieved through concentration, the mind is totally absorbed in the object to the exclusion of all thoughts, distractions, wavering, agitation, or drowsiness. This is the object of the practice of right concentration, to focus the mind single-pointedly upon one object. Occasionally, something approaching single-pointedness of mind occurs spontaneously when listening to a favorite piece of music or watching clouds in the sky. One may have experienced this moment when the mind rests single-pointedly, undistractedly upon such an object. That sound or that form can be familiar to us all. Concentration may be practiced in a number of ways. The object of concentration may be a sight such as a flame, an image, or a flower, or it may be an idea, an immaterial thing such as space, such as loving kindness. When one practices concentration, one repeatedly focuses the mind on the object. This eventually, gradually, leads to the ability to rest the mind upon the object without distraction. When this can be achieved for a protracted period, the one has achieved single-minded or single-focused pointedness. Nonetheless, we don't need to become a monk to practice this kind of meditation. We don't have to live in a forest, and we don't need to abandon one's daily activities. We can begin with relatively short periods, as short as 10 to 15 minutes a day. When one's ability in this kind of meditation is developed, it has two principal benefits. Firstly, it leads to the mental and physical well-being, comfort, joy, calm, and tranquility. Secondly, it turns the mind into an instrument capable of seeing things as they really are. It prepares the mind to attain wisdom. When we talk about seeing things as they really are, we liken the development towards this ability to the development of specialized instruments in science through which we have been able to observe atomic particles and so forth. Had it not been for the development of the radio receiver, we would not have radio waves. We would not have communications. Mindfulness is similar, and especially single-pointedness of the mind and its understanding of the real estate is very important. The Four Noble Truths from book knowledge into direct experience are important. It is similar to sharpening the pencil to write with, or the sharpening of the axe which we use to cut off the roots of greed, hatred, and delusion. When we achieve single-pointedness of the mind, we are then ready to conjoin tranquility with understanding, freedom with focus, and exploration with experience to arrive at wisdom. If you enjoy these talks and would like to help me to continue to produce more, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing these videos. As always, peace and love, Jim.